Hi everyone, and welcome back to SwitchUp, and today, as always, we're going to look at the week's best sales. Now, I like to sometimes give these a theme, and this week we're going to go with the best adventure games that are currently on sale. One of my favourite genres, I guess. Is that a genre? I'm not sure if that's is that a genre? Adventure games? Who knows? I'm babbling again. Some of them will be action adventures, some puzzle adventures, some roguelite adventures. But you get the gist. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video where we'll talk about 2 games you should avoid because they're rubbish. Now, totally randomly, I had an email from a guy called Gavin, whose missus, Siobhan, has her 29th birthday on Wednesday, and he wanted to freak her out. He entirely expected me to ignore his email, but I didn't. So happy birthday, Siobhan. I hope I pronounced your name right. And there's an image of you on the screen right now, so if it's not a nice one, I apologise profusely. It's all Gavin's fault. No, we don't do birthday shout-outs, so stop emailing me. See you later. And as always, we do give away a free Nintendo Switch game to the subscriber most active on the channel each and every month, and very often each and every week. With that said, what's on sale this week? Well, let's find out. Let's start off then with Game of the Year 2019, and it's Children of Morta. This is an incredible title. It's an action RPG slash roguelite. It didn't go in our ARPG list because it has those roguelite elements. It doesn't quite feel like a full-on action RPG, but I guess you could argue that it is in many ways. It has offline 1 or 2 player co-op, excellent combat, and the best thing about it really is the interactions between the Bergson family. You can play as each of them and you unlock new ones as you go along. There's this awesome little baby wolf that you rescue at one point and it joins your family. I mean, what more do you need to know? The developers also added in a brand new mode that's completely free, that plays out a little bit more like Hades. This is an incredible game. This is the cheapest it's ever been. It's 60% off until August the 11th, and that's £7.91, or your regional equivalent. This really is a no-brainer. You really should own this game. If you've been around the channel for a minute, you'll know that my daughter, who's 8, has helped us out quite a few times now. And after she helped us with Dragon Champions last time, they've actually come back and said, you know what, we really liked that, let's do it again. So I know whose pocket money just got increased. But my daughter, being the shrewd businesswoman that she is, has negotiated a very good deal for you guys. But I'll tell you a little bit about that at the end if you stick around. Dragon Champions is a free-to-play turn-based fantasy RPG, and it has PvP or PvE gameplay, so it is one you can play on your own if you choose to. It's a free-to-play game, but if you use our code, then you'll get 500 Dracoins, 100,000 gold coins, and 500 units of in-game energy. Here's how to activate the promo code. As well as all of that, you'll get a character called Bad Robin that you can see on the screen. Use that code that's on the screen, follow the link in the top comment, or scan this little QR code. Isn't that snazzy? And the first 500 people that click that link in the top pinned comment are going to get those things totally free. So thanks to those guys for sponsoring this episode. Then there's the lovely Yoku's Island Express. That's only £3.99, that's 75% off. This is a Team 17 / developer Villa Guerrilla Games Metroidvania featuring a beetle that rolls, one of those, but it essentially combines pinball with a lot of the Metroidvania mechanics that you might have come to expect, being able to traverse a rather large world set on Mokumana Island, and there's lots of new abilities to find, a lovely story, brilliant boss fights in here as well. And I know Glen loved it when he reviewed it for the channel. It's only 1.4 gigs to download, but for £4 you could certainly do a lot worse than this one. The kids pick this week then from my daughter, and it's Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King. Now, she's had this for a while, but we only recently got the little, the little Switch Lite, the blue one, and yeah, she started to play through this. It's 75% off at the moment, taking it down to £3.37, and it's an old school, top down, a bit like an old school Zelda in many ways, but it's a decent experience on Switch. You've got things like HD Rumble, it's 15 hours long, there are classic style dungeons, which sometimes she gets a little bit stuck on and has to ask for a bit of help, but overall she can just kind of pick up and play this one when she wants to. It's got a very bright and cutesy art style, but yeah, it's a lovely little game, and to be honest, at that price, again, one worth considering. It's only 436 megs as well, so it's not going to take up too much space on that ever decreasing SD card. I'm not to blame for that. Yeah. The next adventure is Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. It's one of the best on Switch, I'd say, and at 60% off until August the 12th, it's a nice low discount. As you expect from these games, I'm sure you're familiar with the series, Wonder Boy, Monster Boy. There's a bit of a split, there's a divergence with some of the developers, but this one has 6 different forms that you can take on that help with the puzzle solving and combat. There's loads of different paths you can take, secrets to find. What I like is that FDG put in the effort on the Switch, as they always seem to do, to be fair. It has 1080p graphics, it runs at 60 FPS, there's HD rumble here. They've just done enough really to make it stand out and work well on the Switch, and playing this one in handheld is a real treat. It's going to take over 20 hours as well, so it's a good old chunky adventure for about 13 quid. Next up then, and it doesn't really class as an adventure game, it's more of an indie puzzler, but it's Grindstone. Now, I didn't hear about this one until someone in the Discord mentioned it, so I went out and made a cheeky little purchase, as it's on sale at the moment. And it's decent. There are 200 plus different levels to work your way through, loads of different weapons and gear, but it's like, it's difficult to describe. It's like a mixture of like a puzzle and an action game. And while that might sound very dull, it's incredibly addictive. This is almost certainly going to feature in our addictive games list at some point. You have to smash the creeps to get massive combos. This then earns you the Grindstone, which you can cash in, and then that allows you to craft different gear and items. There are lots of different enemies to fight, boss fights, as you'd expect, but this may have slipped under your radar. I mean, it certainly slipped under mine. I saw the comment on Discord and was like, yoink, made the purchase, and straight away I knew this was going to be one I'm going to be so hooked to. It's got a great soundtrack as well by Sam Webster, and just seems like a bit of a hidden gem. It's 2.08, and that sale goes on until August the 1st. Our next adventure then is down in Bermuda, which Switch Corner reviewed, and I checked out his review. He loved it, and we're always pretty similar in terms of our opinions. You'll be trying to find the secrets of the island, and that in turn will help you to find your way back home. It's a lovely little classic style adventure with different puzzles to solve, and there's 6 different unique islands in total. Now, it's worth mentioning that he does again have that review, so if you want to go check that out, I'll pop a link to it in the top pinned comment, along with any SwitchUp reviews of these games as well. It's a very tidy 432 megabyte download, and as I say, that sale goes on until August the 13th. It's the cheapest it's ever been, just over 5 quid. Absolute bargain. Now it's time to switch over to your US region accounts on your Switch. I know you've got them on there, and if you haven't, why haven't you? Because they really do have some of the best deals oftentimes. And first up, I mean, No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch at $9.99. That's 80% off. That's the cheapest it's ever been by far, and it's had some serious discounts over the years. But this is a lovely Studio Ghibli artwork JRPG. It's a bit of a classic. It has some elements that you'd associate with the Pokemon franchise. Now, yes, there's a little bit of grinding in there, but really the music is beautiful, that visual is sublime. And if you stick with it, I think by the end, most people are going to find that there's a really lovely adventure to be had. Now, it's 5.7 gigs, so it's not too bad in that regard. And you're looking at about 60 to 100 hours of gameplay, so there's more than enough here to sink your teeth into. But honestly, for that price, like, you can't really go wrong. That sale goes on until July the 30th though, so you got about 5 days to pick that one up. And a big thanks to my pal Irene from Isha Gaming for letting us use her footage. Go check out her channel. I'll pop a link to her review in the top pinned comment. You'd probably be laughed off of the scene if you have an adventure game list and not mention Yooka Laylee, which is on sale at the moment at its lowest price ever. It's $9.99 or your regional equivalent. That's 75% off. It's very much an old school adventure title, but they included the camera and voice patch, and you can also play multiplayer mode using several Joy-Con. It's one of those switch your brain off, not ridiculously easy, but just almost nostalgic to play adventure games. It has a lovely little soundtrack and it's going to put a big smile on your face, which, judging by the look on the weather outside at the minute, my goodness, what is up with this weather? Ridiculous. I need to play some Yooka Laylee. It'll cheer me up with its sunny vibes. It's 21 hours long, it's 8.1 gigabytes to download, and that sale goes on until August the 12th.
Hey! Yeah! Hey! Hey! Yeah! Hey! Hey! Yeah! Hey!
Sword and Sworcery had a mention from me when it last went on sale, and I'm going to give it another one because it's very good. And not many people know much about it. I originally played it back on mobile. It has a really nice art style. It's like ultra basic pixel art, but it's actually done really well. It's not the longest game at around about 5 hours, but it's one of those games that's very mysterious and it evokes a mood all of its own, which is quite impressive really. I think it does that mainly through its soundtrack. It has a brilliant soundtrack. There's an entire album's worth of music here, and it's around about £2 or $3 or your regional equivalent, which you'll see down at the bottom of the screen. And at least back on mobile, you used to have to kind of swipe to attack in different directions. I'm not entirely sure how the Switch version works, but if you're after something a bit different, this has a nice slow pace, but is a solid little adventure you could probably bust through in a couple of days. You're going to have to be really quick on this next one. It doesn't go on sale very often and it seems to flip from the EU to the US region. I think it last went on sale maybe the end of May, start of June for a short while, and it's God's Will Fall. Now, I loved this when it came out, but some people didn't. It's a roguelite adventure whereby you're on an island trying to defeat the gods. You have a different band each time you play, like a band of these, I think it's Norse warriors, and each of them has their own abilities and weapons, and essentially you have to go to these areas and then try and defeat gods. But if you die, then, well, you don't die, you get captured if you lose, and then everyone on the outside will be like crying and stuff, and your sister might get like ultra strong and decide to go and avenge you. So if you then go in with that character, you'll have buffs and things like that, which is such a cool mechanic. But there'll be others that will be devastated and won't be able to fight at all. I liked it a lot. It's had a lot of patches since it launched as well. And I think, in all honesty, 50% off, $12.49. That is a bargain. The only thing about this is it doesn't go on for very long. It's only available for, well, I think until the 28th of July. So if you like the look of it, you're going to want to pick it up sharpish. There's 2 DLCs available. You've got the Headhunter's Gear DLC and the Valley of the Dormant Gods DLC. So, you know, if you enjoy it, you can continue your adventure. Just bear in mind, it is tough. I mean, this is tough. Certainly one that will appeal to Souls fans as well as roguelite fans. And I know someone always asks, when your entire party die, yes, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. My favourite adventure of the week though is Vigil the Longest Night. It's a Metroidvania adventure platformer, and it launched in a sorry state when I was capping to review this, and like there were heads coming off of people, like disembodied. I was just a mess. And in actual fact, they were lucky. It was because another game came that we had to review. Like, it was a big name and it had to be done. So by the time I went back to this a week or two later, it was so much better. Like, they really have fixed it up nicely, and fair play to them because there's a lovely game underneath it. It plays a little bit like Salt and Sanctuary meets Dark Souls. It has that side-scrolling perspective. And actually, I recently reviewed another Metroidvania that's kind of similar to this one. But it's a great game, really is worth it, and has been overlooked by so many people. I don't think it would be a stretch to call this a hidden gem. There are 4 different weapon types. There's loads of different items to find. There's a lovely Lovecraftian story and narrative underneath everything. And there are multiple endings to discover. It's got slick combat, like it's really responsive to control, and it just plays well. A very good game. I really enjoy this one, highly recommended. 5.2 gigs to download, and it will take you about 20 or 30 hours to finish it. That sale goes on until August the 9th, and yes, it is the cheapest it's ever been. Alright, let's have a look then at 2 adventure games that you should absolutely avoid because they're garbage. And we'll start off with Ari and the Secret of Seasons. Is that right? Ari, yeah, that's the right name. This could have been amazing, but on Switch it is hot garbage. It has a really nice mechanic whereby you can switch the seasons to solve puzzles, but it's borderline broken on Switch. The performance is atrocious, it's super clunky, and it's sad. I know it's a small team and I feel incredibly sorry for them when channels are saying that you should avoid their game. But unfortunately, it was so badly optimized on Switch, and actually, it's just not very fun, I'm afraid. It doesn't... I can tell there's potential for the future, and you can hear that I don't want to slam it. It's just not very good. So yeah, I would say avoid that one. And last but not least, well, actually, no, it is last and least. And that's Close to the Sun. Now, I know loads of you have picked this up because it keeps dropping in price. And look, on PC, running at 60 FPS, it's actually a decent game-ish. But on Switch, it is a nauseating mess of an experience and so frustrating that they haven't patched it up. It was a very awkward moment when I met the... we were at a games expo and I met the guys pumping this one. Pumping it. And I met the game tester. And he was like, yeah, have a go at this. And I was like, oh yeah, this is nice. But look, performance is awful. What are you doing? And he went, no, this is good. I was like, what? No, look at it. It's not performing well. And he was adamant that he'd done his job. I think I kind of put him on the spot. I didn't realize at the time, obviously this guy was the game tester and you got the developers around. So perhaps it was like super awkward for him that someone had just come along and said the performance was crap. And this was when we only had like 1,000 subs. Not that makes any difference at all, but he didn't know who we were, and it was probably quite rude, really, thinking about it. But either way, the performance didn't change by the time it launched, and I messaged them and was like, hang on, I thought you told me that was an older build. And they were like, oh, yeah, loads of words came out, but essentially performance stayed just as bad, and that's why it holds a user Metacritic rating of 4.4, like it's a disaster on Switch. Shame, don't buy it. So that's it for this week. A big thanks to all of you that watch the channel. Make sure you leave your comments so that we can give away the last 3 copies of Animus Revenant, which is their new game exclusive to Nintendo Switch. It's actually decent. And yeah, do check out the mobile game Dragon Champions, the link to which is in the top pinned comment, which really shows your support for the channel, and we do appreciate that. Thanks to our patrons who support us each and every month. If you're a patron and you didn't get your free game, then please do go and check it out, because I plonked a ton of codes on there for you guys. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!